Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's Saturday, about 4:40. Uh, this is August the 15th. I'm in Austin, Texas. This will be a continuation of my videos that I'm posting on YouTube. Uh, the videos all have one common thread that runs from the first one up, hopefully, to the last one. I'm able to write and narrate for you. They're all on the subject of the philosophy of yoga. The last one I did is gaining slow, but it is gaining some traction, very slow, but that's okay. I'm just starting out on this. I've been at this less than a month. 16 videos so far. This will be number 17. This is an introductory video, even though I won't name it that. And this is on the great book of yoga called the Bhagavad Gita. The subtitle of the Bhagavad Gita is The Song of God. It's a very, very important book. It has 18 chapters in it, and it has been variously it has had various commentators down through the centuries, including the great Adi Shankara. Shankara probably wrote the definitive commentaries on the great book, and I have utilized him in the writing of this paper, uh, in his spirit at least, in the writing of this paper, for his type of commentary that he always utilized. He was a great scholar, died at an early age, around 32, I believe. At 8 or 10 years old, he was already, his father died early, he was already in debate with the great scholars of India on the subject of the Gita. It's commonly called the Gita. That's not an offense to this book. It's just the parlance that is used and has been used down through the centuries. The title of this paper and this discourse, which is becoming this video as I speak, it's the 18-fold journey of the Gita. Now, why 18-fold? Because, as I just said, there's 18 chapters in this book, and it is a journey. As we travel through the chapters of this book, it's like taking a journey. And you go, well, is it like a travel book? Well, no. And yes, it is a travel book, but it's a travel book within us. Yoga philosophy has to do with the internal man or woman or child, the internal person. And it has to do with the coming to know yourself in the truest sense, not as you think you are, but as you are in reality. It has to do with reality. So I'll just read my introductory paragraph to you to be simpler than trying to ad-lib, even though this paper is several pages long. I will ad-lib portions of it using the chapter headings as my launching pad to go into short explanations of each chapter. Again, this is an introduction to the book, to the Gita, to the Song of God. And once this video has been accomplished, I don't edit my videos, by the way. This is all just the way they the way they come out is the way they come out. Some people seem to like them, and of course, not a lot of people know about me yet. My name is James Exum, by the way, E-X-U-M, James Exum, and my pen name, the name I write under, and I am a writer on the subject of yoga philosophy. I'm an old yogi, and my pen name is Sakshi, S-A-K-S-H-I. Sakshi simply means the witness, and if you've looked at any of my other videos, then you've grown accustomed to my usage of that name, and you've also learned through those videos what Sakshi means. If you want a fast reference to it, just simply go to Yogapedia, look up Sakshi, S-A-K-S-H-I, or go to Wikipedia, and you can do the same thing. When I name those two books as reference books, I do it out of the fondness I have for them. I don't get paid one dime from anyone and want nothing in compensation for the mentioning of those two reference sources. I also use other sources in my work, and I will spell those out if I have time and if I think, not if I think, but I know that every reference I utilize is very important indeed. So I'll go to that first paragraph, as I said, and let's see how this goes. I wrote, to look upon the Gita not as a mere book of verses, but as a journey through 18 portals, 18 doorways. Each chapter offers a facet of the self, sort of like a large diamond, a facet of the self, a lens through which the seeker, and you, my friend, if you're learning about yoga or you're on the path of yoga to improve yourself and find your true self, your Atman, your soul, your spirit. If you're a true seeker, you may view the endless dance of Maya and reality by traveling through these portals. Shankara, the peerless Advaitin, would see in every chapter a gradual stripping away of illusion. That's what my videos are about. I'm trying to strip away the illusion of Maya, the falseness of what we think the world and the universe is, and lead you closer to understanding what it is indeed. The ascent from confusion to clearness. So we go from ignorance of the elusive ignorance, and then we ascend from that confusion to a clarity, which exposes to us an undivided consciousness. I, with my signature of plainspoken wisdom, being modest about that, but I am wise as an old man. It's taken me all these years, over 50 years, to gain my wisdom, so it's not a brag, it's just a fact. I might liken each chapter to a step in a very personal conversation with a friend, and I have. A friend guiding you from lostness to clarity, from anxiety to purpose. A friend guiding you from lostness to clarity, from anxiety to purpose, from division to wholeness. We need more wholeness in this world. There's enough division, my friends, as you well know. So now let us take this stroll together, this walk together through each chapter. And what we are seeking is both the metaphysical depth of understanding and seeing life and the world and our life within this world in a very practical light. So that's a paraphrasing of the first, the introductory paragraph I wrote for this paper. The actual title of the paper is the Bhagavad Gita, Advaita Insight and Contemporary Clarity Expanded, the 18-fold Journey of the Gita by myself, and it is copyrighted in August of this year. So let's move on from that. If it seems a little like you've waded into the deep end of the swimming pool and you're a novice swimmer, fear not, as they used to say in the ancient books, because I'm not here to intimidate you, I'm here to educate you. And not only am I the lifeguard as we swim through these waters, but I'm also the buoy, the life vest that will help you gain your ability to float smoothly across the surface of this body of water which I'm introducing you to, which represents the wisdom of the ages. So chapter one has to do with the yoga of dejection. you go, well, I didn't know there was a yoga of dejection. I know there's a lot of yogas, but I didn't know that. Well, there's a yoga of dejection. There's two main characters in this book. There's Arjuna, who is a wonderful, he's very skilled at archery. This is set in the ancient days. This is set around the time, before the time of the Christ, I believe. And so there's two main characters. As said, Arjuna, who is on, there's a great battlefield in front of the chariot that he owns and is in, and his charioteer that day, and also the one explaining everything to him when he asks him questions, is none other than Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna has come to earth embodied, and he is acting as the charioteer of this young warrior. And on that battlefield, there's kinsfolks and family and old friends and teachers, and Arjuna becomes a bit dismayed by what's happening in the opening scene. Now, if you want more information on the Gita's historical background, again, go to Wikipedia, and it will give you a very detailed breakdown of how this book, the Gita, actually is taken from a greater book called the Mahabharata. And the Mahabharata is one of the longest epic poems in the history of the world, if not the longest. And the Gita is a portion of that stands alone as its own book. So I just gave you sort of a synopsis of the background. So chapter 1, the yoga of dejection, the curtain rises on Arjuna's sorrow, a moment of profound doubt and paralysis. Well, why would a young, virile, excellent archer be having a moment of sorrow? A moment of personal, profound doubt. And why is he paralyzed in this moment? Why is he panicking to the point of paralysis at this moment? Well, let's read on and find out. Shankara sees this as a starting point. Now that's the great commentator, Shankara. I am also a commentator. All these papers I'm writing are commentaries on yoga philosophy and breaking it down to the different categories of yoga philosophy. This has to do particularly with the Bhagavad Gita. So Shankara sees this as a starting point, the recognition of samsara's grip. Now samsara is again, this is philosophy. This is not for the weak-kneed or those viewers or even the casual passerby that come to hear my voice and my narratives. This is deep stuff. This is not the asana. This is not the room where you're doing the physical exercises. This is the intellectual exercises. This is the other side of the coin. I'm not saying which side of the coin is heads or tails. I'm not saying which one is better than the other. They're just two sides to the same coin. And that's that. I'm not putting anyone down. I'm not taking any side, so to speak. I just chose this side in my later years because it's intellectually stimulated in me, and from childhood, even before I could pronounce polysyllabic expressions, I knew myself to be an intellectual. My father was an intellectual, and other members of my families were, so I come by it naturally. That again is not brag. That's just a fact. So the samsara is the cycle of humans being born over and over and over again as human beings, or part of the living creatures of this earth. The goal of yoga is to escape the cycle of samsara through what's called moksha, M-O-K-S-H-A. Again, do your own research on this, or go back and look at my earlier videos. And I'm not promoting them, I'm just showing you a shortcut here, and they will help fully explain what I'm talking about in this video. Each video, hopefully, that I've made so far is like a ladder. I start off simply, but each one explains what's happening after the video before that one. So they're stepping stones, they're stair steps, and each one increases your vocabulary of the Sanskrit words, your vocabulary of the terminology of the yoga philosophy. Each one increases your database, so you expand as you watch my videos. And so if you watch them from the very beginning, then understanding this video will be not child's play, but it'll be a lot simpler than if you just come to this video cold. So again, please don't think to yourself, oh, this is way above my head, I didn't sign up for this. You don't have to sign up for this. There are no tests, there are no pop quizzes, there's no final exam. This is just me sharing my knowledge as an old man on this earth, about to turn 75, before I leave this earth. I've spent all these years accumulating this knowledge, and now I want to share it with the world before I leave. I believe myself to be an above average writer and a decent narrator, so you're welcome to come and learn, not from me, but from the knowledge that I have accrued. So here we are still on chapter 1. So we spoke of the recognition of samsara's grip, how it's hard to get out of this. Well, you get out of it by achieving moksha. I've mentioned moksha. So for me, this is the honest reckoning. The I don't know what to do is where Arjuna is. It's an honest reckoning of that young man's position on that historical battlefield. And we don't know if it's historically real, but in Hindu lore and in the history of yoga, it appears to be very real. So we all go through that phase sometimes of, I'm a bit paralyzed, I'm a bit panicked, I don't know what to do. So you can see how each one of these chapters relates to actual human conditions and emotions in our real lives. You can see that they parallel us to a certain degree. So every seeker must face the type of wisdom that Arjuna is about to learn from his driver / master, who is Lord Krishna. And that facing the reckoning of, I don't know what to do, that comes before the dawning of wisdom. That's one of the steps to wisdom, is admitting I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I'm doing here. So you ask the teacher, not myself, the teacher in this book, who is Lord Krishna, and he will supply you with answers. And that's what's happening here. So let's move on. I hope all that made sense. I wasn't trying, again, you're new to me, I'm new to you, so, just, I'm an acquired taste, like the first time you drank a beer as a young teenager, or when you weren't supposed to, but, that's part of life also. Excuse me. If you see me cover my mouth, and I say this in almost every video, it's because I have Parkinson's, and it affects my voice box, and it affects my, that little cough I get. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm rather healthy, actually, except for all the problems I have, the chronic problems I have. So let's move on to chapter 2. Chapter 2 is called the Yoga of Knowledge. It actually has a Sanskrit title, but I'm breaking it down to you in English because this is introductory, and it's hard enough already without me going into Sanskrit word by word and explanation by explanation. So in chapter 2, Krishna delivers the first rays of insight. Well, insight is a wonderful word in yoga. That means you're starting to see hidden wisdom. You're starting to see the wisdom behind the scenes. If this is a great play, you're seeing the wisdom that's going on behind the scenes that explains the play. So the insights. It's also, insight also means interior. You look within yourself. You ignore the outer world and you go internally to try to find yourself. Your soul isn't floating around out here in the ethereal world. Your soul is deep within you, and it's there. It's that little voice that comes to you when you're doing something wrong. It says, no, 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 you shouldn't be doing that. Or it's that little voice that comes to you when you've achieved something marvelous. It goes, congratulations, I knew you could do it. That is your soul. It's also your conscience. It's known by many names. It's also known by the name I share as the writer of these discourses, Sakshi. So Krishna delivers the first rays of insight, and they come out in this manner. He teaches the distinction between the body and the self. This is the body. The self is the soul. This body will fall away one day. You'll cast it off like an old suit of clothes, and the soul, which was never born and can never die, like the Creator was never born and can never die. I'm quoting a passage from the Gita now. I can't give you chapter and verse, but those words are in the Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, which is the book we're discussing. So this is the first lesson that he teaches that paralyzed young man, that profoundly perplexed young warrior on the dawn of battle, on that great field of battle, where his friends and family and relatives are all out there, his cousins are all out there ready to battle each other. It's an internal battle. It's a family civil war, so to speak. And why are they battling? Well, the reason for most wars is wealth and power, to gain wealth and power and lands, and that's generally the reasoning behind war. The reasoning behind war. There was an old saying back in the 70s. In fact, there was a poster that hung in one of my friend's room at the medical barracks. I was in the Air Force here in Austin, and there was a poster that hung in that room, and it said, "War is good business. Invest your son." Well, this was during the Vietnam War. We were the sons that were invested by the United States government to carry on that war, to be participants in that war. So the eternal Atman is untouched by birth or death. Now that's the Sanskrit word for the soul, Atman, A-T-M-A-N. That's another word for your vocabulary if you're new to all of this. So I might say that's how Shankara is looking at it. His commentary is sharp. The eternal Atman is untouched by birth or death. He's trying to teach Arjuna here, don't worry about it. The important thing to worry about here is the fact that you are an eternal being, because you are the soul, you're not the body. Those people out there that might die or get harmed are not the body, they're the souls. Only the physical will be harmed, only the transitory, not the eternal. He's trying to calm him down. So I might say it's realizing you're not just a character in the movie, you're the watcher in the audience. Well, that's my version, a contemporaneous version of what Shankara was trying to say to him in the classical version of his commentary. So that's pretty much it's chapter 2. So you see these chapters, even though when you first read them, they're going to come across as very, very complex, and oh my, I'm going to have to take a lesson, a whole 2 or 3 years in yoga philosophy before I'll even be able to understand the first chapter of this book that everybody's always talking about. Well, I just explained it to you there in, what, a few minutes of my time. And time is fleeting here, tempus fugit. We're up to almost 25 minutes. What I'm trying to do with these videos is keep them under 30 minutes. Well, that seems like it's going to be impossible, especially for this one. So what I'm going to do, and I came up with this idea this morning, I'm just going to, when I get right at that 30-minute mark, whatever chapter I'm on, I'll just stop. And that'll be the first video on the explanation, the introduction, explanation of the Gita. And it'll be, like, say, chapter 1 through 4, whatever one I'm on when that 30 minutes comes up. Let's move on now. Chapter 3, the yoga of action. Duty or dharma, there's another yogic phrase, dharma, D-H-A-R-M-A, takes center stage. Action is not to be renounced, but performed without attachment. Those are very heavy words, even though they're very simple, everyday words. The philosophy behind those runs deep and wide. Well, again, my videos explain step by step as they go higher and higher in their complication and in the depth of their profoundness of their meaning. So, action is not to be renounced, but performed without attachment. Well, that's one of the laws of yoga. Even though you do things constantly, you don't want to look, you plant the seed, but you don't want to look for the fruit that's coming from the seed. You plant the seed today, the fruit doesn't show up tomorrow, it shows up down the road. And when it gets here, that's not what you were looking for. You were looking for the planting of the seed. That was the action. That was the work. That was the work. Action is called karma, and the duty is called dharma. Okay? And you thought karma was just action reaction. Well, it is, but again, one of my videos is on karma and dharma, so you're welcome to look it up. But perform without attachments. Shankara reminds us, action purifies, but it is the attitude that liberates. When you're working towards your soul's liberation, that action is a form of purification. But you cannot do it with the thought in mind, if I keep doing this, then I'll be liberated. Because that's a greedy way of looking at it. And greed is not one of the actions or one of the karmic results, negative results that you want to invade your equations. You're trying to solve a great problem here, how to go from being in that samsara state of being reborn to escaping it and going back to the Creator, back to the blissful state of creation with the Creator. So Shankara reminds us action purifies, but it's the attitude that liberates it. Now, what's my take on that? Well, I put it in modern terms. His terms are classical. I'm doing comparative research here for you. Not only research, but I'm doing comparative commentary. There it is, comparative commentary for you. I showed you the classical commentary, and then I put it into modern words and phrases. My take on it is, do your work, but don't try to grab the results and grip it to the point your knuckles turn white. Yes. So that's chapter 3. Chapter 4. Well, actually, we're going to stop on chapter 3 because I'm at 29 minutes and 15 seconds. So I want to keep them under 30. So I'm going to end it there. So the first video on the explanation of the book of the Gita, of the Bhagavad Gita, the learning about it, and the meanings of its passages. This will be the video 1 through introduction, and then chapters 1 through 3. So there'll be actually 4 segments to it. And there's where I'm going to stop it. And so I always end my videos with these words. I am James Exum, Sakshi. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. And pass those two things along to your friends, your family, and even to strangers. And who knows, someday we might all might wake up in a fresher, newer, better world and say, "Oh, how wonderful it is now. This is how it should have been all along." Well, thank you, friends, and goodbye. Hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, that's okay too. But come back if you want to. Bye-bye.